What's up? What's up? What's up?
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam. Welcome to the Terror Drome episode 9. We got a couple of special guests, so why don't we bring them along? But before that, returning Dreadnought Ryan Sweeney. What's up, my man?
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm all right. I never record this early or live or use StreamYard, so it should go okay.
We're breaking records.
Let's do it. We're breaking things. And speaking of breaking the walls down, we got Kenny from Toy Kennections. What's up, my man?
Happy to be here for your first, not so much trial, but hopefully successful stream. You got people in the chat. You got people on the screen. You're good to go. Unfiltered, unedited. Let's do this.
Oh, man, the pressure's on. But we got you. You got our back. So
I do.
Speaking of a man who's had our back the last few weeks, I can't thank this guy enough. Chad at the Articulated Chad, my man. It's been a joy and a pleasure to connect with you. Thanks for all your support for a toy kind of mood. And now you're here, and I welcome you to the Terror Drome, my man.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
We got some new Vipers in the house.
What's up?
I said we've got new Vipers in the house for the Terror Drome.
We do. But now I present to you Grindstone Toys. Callsign Longbow. And here they are. Maybe one of them. See? Wasn't going to go out without a hitch. Troy and John, what's going on? What's happening?
Hey, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning. Episode 9, Terror Drome. We're here to talk about Callsign Longbow, right? And you have a store live. You want to just, first of all, tell us, the people who don't know, shame on them, but let them know about Callsign Longbow and maybe just a quick origin. There's 8,000 other streams. Trust me, I've watched them all of the origin, but we don't have to go too deep, but just kind of give them some, give them a little base of what this is all about.
Sure. So Callsign Longbow is a 3 3/4 inch retro O-ring action figure line. And it's set during the Cold War. And it's got, a U.S. Covert operations group and some Soviet specialists, and there's a third faction called Steel Web that we've introduced, and we recently funded on Kickstarter, and now we've moved into our backer kit. So we've got the initial funding down. So in the backer kit here, we've also opened up a pre-order store, so everybody that missed out on the Kickstarter has the opportunity from now until November 15th to get in on all the figures and even the exclusives. So we've got a limited window here where folks can still get in. You're not going to miss anything here before the end of the year. We've also got a comic book that goes along with it. We went ahead and made that first issue of the comic available for free online. And that'll help you kind of get a feel for the characters and kind of how that interaction is going to go. We worked with some great folks on that, but the line itself is kind of an homage to the O-ring figure lines of the 80s and 90s. We focused on that a lot in development, and it is designed from the standpoint of it will fit with the collection you already have. It's made to fit with the things you already enjoy. So keep that in mind there. It's kind of an old friend returning is how we like to look at it.
Yeah. And even though, we're a custom centric show, I'm going straight to the comics, man. I got comic fever. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero 300's coming out. So John, you want to talk about that comic for a bit and where they can read it?
Yeah, you can read it on our website. We have a way to take a look at it on there, to read it on the site. And I believe there's a way to, Troy may have to help me here. There's another way to look at it, right?
Yeah, let me find. We've got it uploaded another place. Let me get that web address.
Is that callsignlongbow.com?
Yeah. cslongbow.com.
Yeah. Sweet. cslongbow.com. Go read that comic. It's free. It's digital.
And it's also available on globalcomics.com.
Sweet. Beautiful. Yeah.
When we started this project, we knew we wanted to follow a storyline because we wanted to tell a Cold War story. And then we wanted to inject this almost like an alternate history where this other faction shows up and starts wreaking havoc. To do that, we knew we had to have a kind of a storyline in mind. So we kind of set up like this sounds ridiculous, but it's like a 10-year long story that would take place over a 10-year period in history. And the issues aren't broken up in any particular way, just how we need to tell the story. So the first issue kind of lets you know what Longbow is all about. It also introduces Volk, one of the main Soviet characters that will be in the story. So that is the idea. The idea is to give the readers, a look into what we thought the line was about, and the characters. We'll introduce them a little bit at a time. First issue has a whole bunch of characters, and as the story goes on, we'll develop them more and introduce more villains and more factions, people that we have to deal with on a daily basis. Longbow is specifically a Soviet disruption style unit, and that's their main purpose. But as the story progresses, there are other things they have to deal with. So so that's kind of the idea. The comic is just a springboard to get you into our world.
Yeah, I mean, it gives us a reason to care. There's that synergy that we had as children. We had the cartoon, we had the comic, we had this. Troy, any thoughts of maybe some animation with this or any kind of other story beyond the comic? For those who don't like to read, which seems to be a lot of people these days, what's wrong with you?
You know, we'd love to do that. Animation's a lot more expensive. And that's kind of what it comes down to, right? But yeah, I mean, you know, if the opportunity presented itself, I think that'd be something we'd be willing to look into. Absolutely. I remember, you know, the Joe cartoon and all the different animated stuff we used to watch when we were kids, and it was great. It was kind of a golden time when it comes to that. But yeah, no, we'd definitely be open to that if the opportunity arises.
Awesome. So Ryan, you have a question to ask the gentleman here.
So, you know, my buddies over at Skeletron, how is that figure coming along? I've seen the prototypes of it in the Paint Master. It looks awesome. So how fun was it to make that figure?
That was also ton of fun.
Go ahead. And then just last thing is, you know, what's that skeleton head going to look like?
Ooh.
So that was a ton of fun to work on, and the Skeletron guys, they're good friends of ours. We, you know, consulted on some of RoboSkull, and they've been consulting pretty heavily on Longbow. So we have a good working relationship with them. That was fun as a figure, the retro pilot, because we got to kind of work outside of what we had been doing with Longbow, right? Because Longbow was a period piece, and we were real focused on the Cold War history part of it. Right, it has a very specific look, and the RoboSkull kind of style is very different because we wanted something sci-fi, but it also needed to be retro. So we got to play with that and look at a lot of different things. But yeah, that sculpt has come out great. Mark from Skeletron ended up doing the sculpt on that, and it looks fantastic. And I know he's got the skeleton head ready to go too. I'm not sure that they're 100% dialed in on that, but he's pretty close on that. But, you know, it came out fantastic. Matt LaCroix did the Paint Master on it. It looks great. And it's really come together. So we're excited to get that one around. And I'm excited to get that one into production.
Nice. Yeah. So I was going to save this question for last, but while we're talking about collaborations, I know you said the O-ring figures that, you know, for Longbow, they're constructed almost the same way as Operation Recall. So do you want to talk about any possible collaborations or any kind of, I know you come from Marauders, anything you got in the works?
You know, for us, we've got a couple of different folks we're working with that have approached us that have their own O-ring projects. Carson with Operation Recall being the you know, kind of first and foremost with that. So what we've done, we developed a sculpting buck, you know, to standardize our parts. So what we're doing is when we're collaborating with some of those other folks, we're letting them use our buck to make sure that, you know, we have standardized joints and things so that the parts are interchangeable. And part of that, obviously, because like you said, this is a customizing focus show. That's how we got started, right? That's how I got started customizing O-ring figures. That was where I began. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's important to me going forward is I want to be able to to customize stuff, and I want other people to be able to customize with a fairly low point of entry, right? If we have standardized joints, you don't have to be, sanding on everything to make stuff fit. If the shoulder joints all fit, they all fit. So that's our goal, especially in collaborating with some of the other guys that are coming along, is we just want to make sure everything works together.
Yep. Ken, go ahead. I know you had some stuff to ask.
Actually, but before I even jump into that, so does that mean that other companies use the same buck, or do they just have access to your buck so that they can make theirs compatible? Maybe I'm getting too technical here.
Yeah, like for Carson, we're just letting him use the buck. He has some unique kind of challenges with his because his are being sculpted by Bill Merkline, which is fantastic, right? But those are physical sculpts. So he has this whole extra step in the middle where they have to take those sculpts and then digitize them and conform them. So we're when they get to the conforming piece, they're going to conform them to our buck. But
right.
He's got this whole other step the rest of us don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I guess because they're doing it the old school way, where they do the hand sculpt. And when you hand sculpt something, you're not working with a buck, but when you're doing it digitized, you're working with a buck. Is kind of my, I guess for people in the chat who may not know, a buck is kind of like the template figure. It's the blank figure, no details, nothing, not even pockets, no creases on the clothes, etc., etc. So on the Skeletron
retro pilot, we just gave them the buck and they just sculpted digitally to the buck. Yep.
I see. Yeah. So using it as a template, basically. So the figure can look entirely different, but the buck, like the height of the figure and all that, the proportions are generally going to be the same, but then the details are way different. So it looks like a completely different figure. So, okay. Gotcha. I guess the question was going to be with regards to timing. I noticed it said that it's going to be February 2024, right? Is that correct? So,
yeah,
okay. No,
as of now, that's when we plan on delivering. Part of it is, as we unlocked more stretch goals, we were very upfront that the more of those we unlocked, the longer it was going to take, right? And that makes sense at the factory, right? The more stuff you got to make, the longer it's going to be. And that is still, that's still our target. That's still where we're aiming for. As we all know, though, that is a year and a half away, and things happen all the time that are totally out of your control.
Come on, give me my shit now.
I know. Well, and I'll be honest, like, I'm apprehensive and I'm just that way, but like, we started this project back in 2019.
Yep.
And we got hung up on all kinds of stuff in 2020, obviously, along with the rest of the world that nobody expected. So I'm always kind of cautious about, everything going forward now, because you never know what's going to happen.
No, and the reason I thought that was important to ask is because I think the initial thought was, if you didn't unlock a certain number of figures, you were going to try to do it in December 2023. And just knowing kind of what you folks are going through, like, you don't want to get bombarded for those next few months saying, hey, you said this. So now you're putting up front that unlock more figures. It's going to need a couple of months. Hopefully it ships before the Chinese New Year 2024 and lands here. Sometime, because a lot of people don't know that factories shut down for Chinese New Year for about 3 weeks, right? Which is very, very important in this particular industry. And have you looked at all in doing what Strikeforce Alpha has been doing about the Big Bad Toy Store, getting in with some of the online retailers?
Oh yeah. We've had some conversations with retailers, both smaller collectible retailers and with some of the online retailers, and we'll have those conversations ongoing with them. So we'll expect to have stuff available, but we wanted to make sure we got backers taken care of first, and that they got in and got a chance to get on backer kit and get going with that, and that we left that open again for the folks that missed it, because we want to make sure that core group gets taken care of first and foremost.
Smart.
So Travis, do I fanboy over the Adapt Trooper now, or are we going to get to it? Then I can kind of do my jingle when that goes, and not so much jingle, but you know what I mean.
So yeah, I got a little beef with Troy because he wanted to reveal the Adapt Tactical Trooper. Let's show that on the screen, Ryan, if you can. The Adapt, there it is, a beautiful son of a bitch. So that should have been revealed this morning, but that's okay. we like you guys. Yeah, let's talk Adapt and maybe clear the air for those who, like myself, I went all in. Kind of talk about the backer kit, the pre-order store as well. Good segue into that, and then kind of the decision to add the Adapt if he does get unlocked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's pretty traditional when you have an action figure Kickstarter that then rolls over to backer kit, that stuff gets added in the backer kit, right? That wasn't included in the Kickstarter. That's a pretty standard feature. Skeletron did it. They added a number of figures during the backer kit. Marauder always does. And we knew we wanted to do that. But we were in kind of an awkward spot because we had also promised all of our all-in backers that we were going to give them at the best value, right? Or at least one of the best values in our Kickstarter. So when we opened the backer kit, the first thing we did is we unlocked the next figure immediately, which was the Krasny Ninja, and we made that available for backers. Because if you did an all-in, you were getting 11 figures. We wanted to make sure that if you wanted to, you got 11 unique figures. We weren't going to make you take a double if we didn't have to. So we went ahead and we did that right off the bat, but we still then had the option to add additional figures. The thing is, we did not make enough money during the Kickstarter to add additional figures, right? The Krasny Ninja was at the end of where we were at, and we weren't going to have anything else. So we decided that, we would throw it out there that if we did make it to the 259,000, which is where the Adapt Tactical Trooper had been during the Kickstarter, we would go ahead and add that to the backer kit if we get to that point. Now, it is a separate product, and it won't be included in any of the Kickstarter pledges. But it is, if we get there, it will be available to purchase.
Awesome. Oh, well, we have that resupply pack on the screen, $12.99 for 28 accessories. That's pretty good stuff. John, you want to chime in on that and talk about kind of going with that surprise drop in the backer kit?
Well, like Troy said, we traditionally that's what everybody does, and we wanted to keep the Kickstarter action figure focus. We knew that we were going to be a little bit tight on our unlocks and the cost, so we thought, well, we'll hold off the resupply pack. You'll also notice the resupply pack is weapons that the other characters come with, so we really needed to know what the mix of figures was going to be to even know what we were going to have to be able to have them in the resupply pack, if that makes sense. So that was the whole point of not putting it in the Kickstarter, because we didn't want to not know what was actually going to be in it. Now we have a pretty good idea. I think the resupply pack looks about like it's going to look. So we felt good about that being a definitive thing to add in a backer kit. And it felt like traditionally that was something someone would put in a backer kit, and letting it kind of float out there, and anybody can add it at any point. It has nothing to do with how many figures you backed or any of that. You can just get the resupply pack if you want to.
Yeah, it's a good bargain. And then as well, why not ask this? Should we expect any more surprises in the pre-order store backer kit as we go along and maybe start hitting some of these goals, Troy?
Right now we're not ready to share anything on that, but I think we're going to see how this first one goes. And part of it is we understand the folks that were backers in the Kickstarter, they've already put in, right? Really, we're kind of throwing this incentive out here with the stretch goal to encourage you to get your friends to come along and join up at the pre-order store, right? For folks who missed out, this is the opportunity for us to grow the brand.
Yep.
And really we want to reach as many people as we can in this. So that's kind of where we're focused right now, is we want other people to come find it. We need that in the long term to make it a successful brand. And we want to give everybody a chance here, like I said, before November to get in on it here, kind of on the ground floor. Now, these folks in the pre-order store, they're still getting a deal, but they're not getting as good a deal as the Kickstarter backers got. And I want to make that very clear. The Kickstarter backers are getting the best pricing on everything across the board. But for those new folks coming in, it's still technically introductory pricing here through November 15th. So don't miss out.
So how much is the ADAP Trooper, Tactical Trooper, if unlocked, for those who went like all in, say?
So it'll be $25 across the board for that, because that's a separate item until November. After November, our MSRP goes up to $25.99. So you're saving $1 per figure if you're buying now.
Okay, great. All right, awesome. Chad, go ahead, man.
No, I'm just kind of taking it all in. I've been following this project pretty much since the inception, going way back. And, John, Troy, and we kind of talked about it at Joe Fest. Just kind of beat up on that a little bit in private. I love these figures. I love everything about it. They're going to blend in with existing collections really well. I found it really interesting that they're not doing any kind of two-up additive sculpting on bucks, that it's all in the digital realm. I think that's kind of cool. We had a conversation about technology backstage, and if that's what you want to do, I mean, I think that's really rad. I'm just a huge fan of Ghost. Like, as soon as I saw that Ghost figure, I love him. I love the Ghost. I love the tracksuit henchman. Like, the tracksuit henchman, he just does it for me. This is like, all of this just screams Cold War. The Spetsnaz figure. Yeah. I love the whole campaign, especially with the online campaign with the Steel Web takeover. I thought you knocked it out of the park with that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, Chad, you're our O-ring dude, so I had to spotlight you.
Actually, I'm a modern guy. Every figure that you see in this showroom is modern.
4-inch. All right, cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things. I talked with John about it. I talked with McKie about it. I've talked with Matt LaCroix about it. I've talked with Carson Metaxas about it. I'm not name dropping, just all the people who are doing all their projects, right? They're all O-ring projects. I'm not predominantly an O-ring collector. I'm a modern construction collector, either the 2007 and on Joes, Marauders, Joy Toys, things like that. But these kind of products, and projects, I can't not support them. Everything about them, like, this is my childhood comeback. I've got to support it. I'm not really an O-ring guy, but all of these projects that have come up, like, I'm a huge believer of fans do the best work, and we vote with our wallets. I mean, Travis, I'm not really a 6-inch guy, and I'm not really an O-ring guy either, but all these projects that have been coming up, I back them all.
Well, like, when you're in the military toy community or the Joe community, it just all comes to us either way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Classified is the line that resurrected me back from the dead, and then here I am, buying the toys that I grew up with at 7, 8, 9 years old, thanks to our friends. But part of why these experiences are so much fun are the updates, the communication with, like you said, fans make the best toys, and it's great. You don't have to run out to Walmart and deal with scalpers and stuff like this, and we get awesome. Just being a part of it is as much fun as getting the toys. Like, don't get me wrong, get the toys. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be Christmas. But just being a part of it's the journey for me rather than the end game. You know what I mean? And that's why I love, like, Operation Recall, Callsign Longbow, et cetera, et cetera. It's just the whole crowdfunding thing in this community is just, it's awesome. It keeps us alive. Instead of waiting a year and a half for a pre-order, we have to wait a year and a half for a pre-order, but we're constantly in communication, getting updates, getting comics, getting communication with the creators. And that's what makes this thing special.
Yeah. And you're part of it. Mm-hmm. It's just awesome. And growing up in the Cold War, this all just speaks to me. Every time they would show a new figure, I'm like, look at that guy. Like, I'm totally in with that. They just nailed it.
Let's do a little lightning round here. Ryan, you get those pictures ready, boy? Because I'm going to go ask everyone who their favorite Callsign Longbow figure is. And I will hit the creators first. John, what's your favorite figure that we can actually buy?
This is going to sound crazy, but I absolutely love Ghost.
And yeah. I don't think that's crazy at all. But why? What's your reasoning?
Ghost is, there's several reasons, but for me, Ghost is one of the, I don't know how to say this. When we first started setting all this stuff up, Ghost hadn't really been thought about yet. So Ghost was actually our first, like, true total collaboration. And so for me, it's just, for me mentally, it cemented the fact that Troy and I were really doing this, and we were really doing something together, and it was just everything about it. So we went all out with Ghost. Coolest accessories, we argued for hours about the tones of the colors for Steel Web. We've talked about Steel Web for a long time. So it is, it's probably my favorite as far as just how I feel about it. But as far as the regular characters that we've created, Uptown and his history and his story and all of that is probably my favorite, just regular figure from the line.
Awesome. I thought you were going to say Ghost just because you're a big fan of Scream.
No,
But Uptown, actually, it's funny because when we had Carson on talking Recall, I was like, is it too late? And I showed this like crazy tip Ash, and I was like, I had this whole thing. And I gave him a backstory just to give it some levity. And then when I dug into the backstory of Uptown, it was a little similar. So it was pretty cool that, maybe some strong minds think alike there. Troy, your turn, man.
Oh, for the ones that are currently available, I'm pretty partial to the Spetsnaz Trooper. And I really like, part of that is from where Longbow was coming from, right? I wanted that Cold War story. I always joke, we tell everybody we did a lot of research. We watched Red Dawn and Top Gun and Rocky IV, so we could get that authentic experience. But like, I wanted some of those bad guy troop builders, and the Spetsnaz obviously fits that role. It was one of my favorites. And then I saw the painted paint master that McKie did. And that thing's fantastic. I absolutely love the way it came out. The sculpt looks fantastic. The paint looks great. So I think if you ask me this week, I'm going to say the Spetsnaz, but as we get some of the other sculpts done, that might change.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are making Russian action figures cool. I mean, think about the world we live in and what's been happening. And the Krasny Ninja, right? I mean, right? It's before we get to the favorites from everyone else. That dude took the internet by storm for a couple of days. You want to talk about and thank you as an all-in guy to get that one free or included. That was tremendous. And you want to talk about kind of just the Krasny Ninja for a second.
Yeah. So here's the thing with the Krasny Ninja. I drew that up. I had the idea for it, so I drew it up, and we included it in some of the preview panels that we had done when we were kind of getting feedback from people. And we never intended for this to be a Series 1 figure. This was, even when I drew it, we had these characters that we were putting in the comic, and we really wanted to focus on that. And, but we put this thing in those preview panels, and that was the single thing that got the most response every time we showed stuff. When we showed that ninja, that was the thing people wanted to come talk to us about afterwards. And we did, for anybody that saw some of the early preview panels, like in 2019, or even the one we did in 2021, we were slightly more heavy on realistic figures and more traditional military figures in the beginning. And we thought over time we'll branch out into some of this other stuff. But that ninja, man, everybody who saw it came up and said something about it. So we decided that needed to move up, and it's been very popular. So I'm glad we did.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about G.I. Joe, Real American Hero at its core, right? So you got the OG dudes, but then when they started getting into the wacky stuff, that's when it really got the attention. So like when you got the henchmen, the ninja, the ghost, like, yeah, we have our awesome military guys. And let me tell you, the camo on some of this stuff is mind blowing, right? But then when you throw in the colorful characters, that's when you really start to show the personality of this project.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Ryan, Rad Dog, producer, what's your favorite Longbow figure? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
It's the one that's not a Longbow figure.
It is
made by Grindstone, so cool.
Yes, but I have to agree with Troy that Spetsnaz, that's just money. That's the 80s childhood. That's the Ronald Reagan years. That's Afghanistan. That's what we grew up with. And to have that finally in a toy line is awesome. So you guys just killed it with that one.
Terrific. How about you?
And
Yep.
I'm a 6-inch guy, and I'm buying O-ring stuff, and I don't collect O-rings, so I blame you guys for that.
Well, we appreciate it.
We'll accept that.
All right, Ken, your turn.
Okay. So people, this might surprise some people, but if you know me, you know that I'm a big fan of lore and histories. So the figure I'm looking forward to the most is the regular Adapt Trooper from the research facility. And why? Because Action Force has for a lot of people who don't know this, the Action Force has what would have been released as a special weapons force. One of the sub teams that came after the main 4 sub teams would have been released if they had been allowed to keep going. And if you look at the Adapt Troopers design, and Troy and John can either plead the fifth or they can acknowledge what I'm about to say, is that if you look right here where the camera is, can you pull me up full screen?
Yup, not me.
Yeah. So the color scheme harkens to the Action Force character Fixer. And it looks like
Show us again, Ken, since we pulled you on the screen a little late. Let's show it.
Yeah,
this is live NBC News. Let's get it right. We're
right.
entering a war here.
So this is what Fixer would have looked like if he had been released as a in the 1985 line on the Special Weapons Force. And then you can take the character of Fixer and recolor him into Lightning, and then do the same thing for Sniper. So you kind of get a 3-in-1. So it allows us to get that Special Weapons Force we never got before, which is why it's all the more important for us to unlock the Tactical Suit one. So the Tactical Suit one can go with my Longbow figures, and the regular Adapt Trooper can go with what I'm hopefully building as a Special Weapons Force. And this is me cheerleading Troy and John to do the other 2 repaints of the other 2 Action Force Special Weapons Force guys. Both the guys are grinning right now, so they're either going to plead the fifth or they're going to acknowledge what I say as
you want to rebuttal that, Troy.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about, Ken.
I've never seen those pictures before. What is that?
But that's why I love the Adapt Trooper. So if it only exists in Ken's headcanon, so be it.
That must be a Canadian thing. Action Force. Has anybody ever heard of that brand before? I haven't.
Yeah, something about a Red Shadows.
Yeah.
Palatoy's
Is
what?
that part of that? Huh. No,
Well,
honestly,
go ahead, John.
That's the whole thing with the Adapt Trooper. Like, we made that fake magazine article with the picture that we showed around the time of the Kickstarter, and the whole point there was to show that the Adapt system was a new thing that the military was working on for a future soldier. And so the Adapt protocol is that they're training these special forces guys with this new equipment, with new gear. So a lot of it is very special weapons oriented. We wanted to be able to have a trooper that matched like what Longbow was going to be facing, that the government already had a branch that was kind of dealing with stuff like that. And the Adapt Trooper fit in perfectly for that. And it could have many repaints. The whole Adapt concept is that they can adapt to any situation and they're ready for any type of theater or battleground. So, yeah, I mean, I absolutely love that figure for a lot of the reasons that Ken brought up. But yeah, it's going to be, you're going to be seeing it for a while.
And without that sort of deep lore if you're an Action Force fan, it's not so much deep lore, but for people who are kind of casual followers, they may not understand that connection back to the mid 80s. So I just thought that was really important to bring up in some fashion or another. Sorry, I'm all fanboy right now. It's just what I do. It's just this thing that I do. So unlock that Tactical Suit one, so that can go with a regular Callsign Longbow, and Ken's headcanon can put the regular one with his Action Force. All right, I'm done. Chad, go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go. I appreciate the fact that Ken brought up Palatoy's Action Force. I have to say I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Looking at this whole line, let's be honest. There's no stinkers in here, right? There's no stinkers. There's really no sleepers either. Like, everybody has their chance to shine. And that Krasny Ninja, I mean, come on, it goes It goes together so well. Like the first time I saw it, I was like, who would have ever actually put a kami and a ninja together? But he looks so good.
There you go. That's my favorite. I don't even have to explain. You just did.
He looks so good. But that being said, however, pause for dramatic effect. Tracksuit henchman is my number one.
Yeah, bro.
It's my number one. As soon as I saw him, I'm like, he's in a cool tracksuit, white t-shirt, freaking ski mask. I got a Molotov cocktail. I was like, everything about that dude screams perfect. He's just perfect. Like, you think of anything 80s, 90s, fall of the Berlin Wall, the collapse of the USSR, and I'm like, there he is, right there. Like, he's just perfect.
He's always wandered around in the background of all the famous things. Yep.
I mean, look at the Ukraine right now. You got people looking like that. Like, it's timeless. It is. It's a fantastic figure.
There he is.
Everything about him.
There it is, right there to your center is the crazy bro from Daredevil season 7. But yeah, pretty sick. All right, guys, let's shift gears for a second. We'll return to Callsign Longbow. Let's talk. Fuck it. Let's talk 1/12 scale because Carson did, and he kind of dropped a bomb on our show and said, yeah, if we ever do Operation Recall on 1/12, it'll be Voliverse. So what about you guys are very close to them? Any thoughts on taking this to that level with the popularity, of course, of G.I. Joe Classified, Troy?
I think it's the same kind of thing that we say with animation. It's something we'd be willing to look at if somebody was interested in doing it and it seemed like a good fit. Right now, we're focusing on the O-ring piece, but if we were to do something in another scale, we'd really want to partner with somebody that's already working in that scale, right? No need to reinvent the wheel on that. But if the right opportunity presented itself, we'd never say never.
Awesome. And I'll have to get the Terror Drome guys. Shout out to KJ, of course. Ryan is here, Tony Romo, Giles, and so on and so forth. Maybe they'll get on that. Maybe we'll start kit bashing and customizing our 1/12 call sign figures, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ryan, you have a picture of what was it? The Ray Murphy's 1/12 Ritello.
Oh, I did not add that. I apologize. That was on
right. Yeah. It was just gonna kind of show like what the fan community can do with some of the, even like it amazed me. Like I think the campaign ended and like 2 days later there was already a 6-inch Ritello, which is just mind blowing. So let's get those 6-inch web shocks. Show and Spetsnats. Let's see it. Let's promote this line. Did you guys? What's up?
Tracksuit guys in 6-inch. That's what we want.
Yeah, and then you could consider the Marvel Legends as well. But Troy and John, do you guys collect G.I. Joe Classified, and did you back the hiss?
You go ahead, John.
Yes and yes.
All right. You want to talk about your love for Classified or not love?
I actually do like them. I like that scale, and I always have. But when Troy and I started this thing, like I just slowly backed away from a lot of things and just kind of got to the core things I like. I did back the Hiss tank. I think that is awesome. I think that is just one of the coolest things they've done. And I was actually a fan of the line at first when a lot of people were bashing it because it looked too futuristic, and I thought it was funny because they said it was unrealistic, and like one of my first 2 figures was Flash, and he's a laser rifle trooper in 1982. So I'm not sure what G.I. Joe people loved, where they thought those ideas came from, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, now John, not to interrupt, but now people are asking Emily and Lenny for Steel Brigade, and
right.
It's like aliens, and they even said, "Would you guys?" They showed an alien on one of their Instagram streams, like from the back in the day, from Steel Brigade, and they're like, "Would you want to see this in Classified?" And everyone's like, "Yes." It's like you guys totally turned on them.
It's a pendulum swing, right?
Yeah.
We gave you what you wanted, and you didn't want it, so we moved, and now you want it back.
Well, like the Robo Skull. When they announced that it could be, for anything, O-ring, 4-inch, 6-inch, people went crazy. Yeah, I could put Destro in it. It's a freaking space skull.
But we're all kids at heart, so we're gonna do whatever we want with our toys. So that's the best part about it.
It's a nightmare TIE fighter. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah.
No, not at all. Troy, your any thoughts on the classified and the hiss as well?
Yeah, I mean the classified stuff, I'm buying it all. 6-inch isn't my primary scale, but I am picking it all up. The hiss tank looks fantastic. The newer figures that they've released, they look fantastic. I know I've got a Storm Shadow and a Spirit I need to open. You know, and they look great. All that 6-inch stuff looks great. You can do a lot of fun stuff in that scale. So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Exactly. And so while we're on it, whether it's 112, 118, this is a custom centric show. And it's great because talking to creators, it's like, well, you're sort of customizing, but on a professional scale. But do you have, let's talk about, you know, you started off with Joe Customs in the 2000s, right? So you want to talk about maybe your love, you and John's love for either custom figures, the custom community. Do you have anything you want to show us that either you made or was given to you or you bought that's custom? So let's see them customs. Let's talk customs.
Yeah, I started lurking on actually the Bivouac, which was the precursor to Joe Customs. I wasn't posting, and originally I can remember in the okay, this is really going to date me, and this is probably going to be long, but when we got internet at the college, the little community college that my mom worked at, I was in middle school. And I found Yojo, and originally Yojo had a section for customs where Corey and Eugene Son and a couple of guys had posted customs, and it like kind of blew my mind that people were taking Joe's apart and making new things. Because I had replaced O-rings in Joe's before, but I had not put together that you know, we could be making new stuff. And that was like a drug. And I continued along in that. By the time I went to college, Joe Customs had replaced Bivouac, and they had a forum, and I was on there all the time, learning and making stuff. And, you know, my first number of years, what I was making was not that good. Looking back on it, sometimes when I find that stuff, but I really enjoyed it. I started going to Joe Cons, and I met the crew from Joe Customs, and we were a regular group, you know, and that was great. And it just kind of spiraled from there until, you know, I was pitching stuff to the club, and picking up professional work and just growing from there. So it's a long kind of drawn out thing, but it started with customizing.
Nice.
Where it all goes back to. So
do you have anything you want to show us that you're proud of or anything?
Oh, you know, I don't have anything
having
up
a
here.
run down the basement into a detol for anything. You know?
Yeah, I've got some stuff downstairs I might have to go find. The thing is, you get to a point, or at least I got to a point, where I had bags and bags and bags of figures that I had pieced together and never got around to painting. So I've got tons of customs that I never finished in the basement, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, I mean, I customize mostly O-ring, but yeah, I'll have to see if I know where I've got anything. Most of it's packed up. But
I was going to say, you guys like customize the whole line of figures.
Yeah. Well, no, that's where it gets to eventually, right? Like I just kept doing it on a bigger and bigger scale. So
well, maybe while you search for that, we'll talk to John for a minute.
Talk to John here for a few minutes. I'll be back.
JK. So talk about. I think you blanked off screen, so you have something.
Yeah, I went and grabbed a couple of things.
All right, cool. Let's see it. Let's do it.
Let's see. This is 1992, maybe. I put this guy together.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
I was working on a storyline that was called G.I. Joe 2000. It was about how they put the team back together after they had been taken down. Let's get this guy up here.
Nice.
Ooh, cool.
Removable helm.
So I was doing that stuff, you know. Then, and I was on a part of a couple of groups, but not much. Back, Troy said something dated him, and I laughed because I can remember doing this stuff on news groups. Most recently.
Oh,
what is
one
that?
six. Nice.
Oh,
So I, I'm a modeler, 3D modeler. Did that for my work for a while, and I kind of really get into it. So when we started talking about the adapt thing, and coming to the show, I went ahead and put together some stuff to talk to some people about maybe doing some 12-inch adapt troopers, and it would be the idea would be kind of the same as what I talked about earlier. It would just be different clothing sets, different gear sets for different things, and so that's kind of the stuff I've been doing. Most of the custom stuff I do now is related to Callsign Longbow or Grindstone in general. So
you've already got us beat. So we can't even, like, if we go and customize your O-ring figures into 112, you're like, that's my shit.
No, I think I saw the Rotello custom, and I just thought we're gonna see tons of things coming out, and my son, when the Cobra Troopers first came out, he went to Target and got one, and I really wasn't sure. Chad, I think you've probably seen this. Hold on just a second. He did this. He did this Cobra Trooper.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow. Oh, wow.
And McKie is a hell of a painter.
Yeah, he is.
I can remember some of his first customs, and I always joke with him that as soon as he has one of these podcasts, I'm gonna post his original Wolverine made out of a Zartan and just embarrass the hell out of him. But I remember I kind of had an idea what he was doing because he had posted this picture where he had taken that thing completely apart, and this was when nobody could find them, and he had people just ripping on him for cutting one up, But yeah, he sanded all the joints and went through it. It's a beautiful figure, and he had made me a 4-inch version of it for Father's Day the year before, and so he knew as soon as that 12-inch or as soon as the 6-inch came out, if he got one, that's where it was going. He did a couple of others for me too. He's
that's phenomenal.
It's always nice because my wife says she never knows what to get me because I have everything. McKie always knows what to get me. He's always like, if it doesn't exist, I will paint it. So
I love
hey,
it.
John,
Nice.
I got to say something real quick. So obviously, like, your son and I have been friends for years. So
Right.
when I first started customizing Joe's, he is one of the guys that always gave me pointers, always gave me tips, always helped me out. And the funny thing is, he's such an expert at customizing figures. And when I first started customizing stuff, it was all really geared toward figures because that's Mikey's sort of forte. And I actually went almost entirely to customizing vehicles. So now, like, Mikey's like the go-to figure dude, and I almost predominantly do vehicles, but we still talk all the time, tips, tricks, things like that. But yeah, he is a master of his craft.
Yeah, I knew that he had reached a pretty good pinnacle when Troy saw that Spetsnaz trooper and said, "Do you think he'll do all the paint?" I think he'd love to.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's and that's actually one of the fun things about where we're at now. And I remember I used to take him to the shows that DeSimon would put on in Illinois. We would drive over to those shows. This again dates us, but yeah, I'd take him he was into that so big, and so now to have a chance to actually work with him on what I wanted to do, my dream, that's a pretty cool thing. And yeah, it kind of I didn't mean to go off track there with the custom.
No, it's beautiful. Thank you.
But yeah, it's like that's kind of just been him and I. That's been our thing. That's one of our bonds, is customizing figures. When he was a kid, we would just have boxes of figures, be taking stuff apart, and he had an act for it. And when he looks at modern figures, he can tell me how many pit figures use that waist and which ones did this and which fits here, but you have to cut this. He's quite a knowledge base.
Yeah, and that's awesome because you got father and son bonding that can never be taken away from you. You got he's working on like his spatial intelligence skills, mechanical skills, things like that. Like that's all lifelong learning stuff. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Before
he would do vehicles if he had the space, but
well, speaking of which, are we going to see Callsign Longbow vehicles? People love O-rings, because we have his tanks and USS Flags and Defiance and Sky Strikers and all that stuff. So, Troy, tell us.
Yeah, we'd love to do vehicles eventually. So we're not quite there yet, but yeah, we've got long-term plans where we want to do that. So it's just a matter of getting there.
Yep, and if you set it in space, it will hit record sales because, you know, old time, long time G.I. Joe fans, they love their space stuff. You know, they love their maybe called Nerf, and see if you could do a collaboration and record. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. So Troy, your turn. You want to show some stuff?
Yeah, so I found a couple of things here. So I was really at one point into trying to make things look semi-production style, which is probably why Longbow turned out the way it did, because I wanted to make it look like things were factory made. And we had done a group project at Joe Customs, and it was a Tiger Force project. So I did. I built a Tiger Force Havoc there, and then I've got a couple of figures as well. And I was really preoccupied with like the way the paint masks worked. And it, like, how far back did the paint go on a holster, and you know, why did they do it that way? So I paid a lot of attention to that. So when I was doing figures, I wanted to make sure that it very much, you know, looked like a production figure. And if there was, you know, a rhyme or reason, or, you know, kind of a rule why they had done something in production, I would try and duplicate that on the customs.
That's low light. Looks like
that was low light. There was
with
a cross country here to go to drive the Havoc.
Yeah.
And then
You're big on details. You're big on details there. Like even the shoulder on low light, I noticed was painted up nicely.
Mm-hmm. So. And this one is actually a recipe I stole from Roger Taft. He had at JoeCon in 2004, he had a Tiger Force Hiss tank. And then he did this driver, which then I duplicated because I loved it so much. Oh gosh, and I wish you could see that the Tiger came out real good on the front of it. But
yeah, I see it. Yeah.
But again, following the rule, because like Sky Striker that came with the Tiger Rat was the Wild Weasel body with a different head. So same thing with this guy. When Roger did the original one, it was you know, a Hiss driver body with a different Joe head on it. So those kind of weird details that only the really, really hardcore people care about, like that was my jam. I was worried about those things. So,
and I think this is a perfect time to promote Chad and my show tonight. And Ryan, you're there too, right, bud? Island of Misfit Toys. All right, we're going to talk G.I. Joe subgroups with our friends at Sergeant Slaughter's Slaughterhouse. Shout out to Zazel and Gaz. Yeah, we'll be there as well. And so we're going to talk subgroups. And man, that Tiger Force. Can I see? Let's see a vehicle again, man. That was just tremendous.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we're talking subgroups tonight. Tiger Force, big time. Wow, that is, man.
You know,
what's your address?
Amazing paint work on that, Troy. That's just awesome.
Thank you.
We do have a question from the audience. And Pendragon Designs asks, because we're talking about vehicles, tracksuit motorcycle or a van? That would a tracksuit van.
I mean,
no windows, no windows at all.
Shouldn't it be like
straight from Taken?
not to get too stereotypical here, but shouldn't it be like a 15-year-old beat to crap BMW or Mercedes? Right? Isn't that what those guys should be driving?
Or a scooter?
Yeah. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Ryan, you had a question about O-rings since we're talking customs, I think, right?
Yeah. So with your design, the O-ring G.I. Joe is what started all of us on customs. You know, you kit bash your figures when you're a kid. With your figures, are they going to have the screw in the back? We're going to be able to take them apart, or are they going to be glued together? I think with a lot of the O-rings, we're assuming a lot of stuff, but we don't know until we ask.
Yeah, no, they're going to have a screw in the back because we know that's important to be able to take them apart. We know it's important that if the O-ring breaks, you have to be able to fix it. And I know we have had some pushback about using O-rings because, you know, if I keep them in the package, then they break eventually. And that is true. But, you know, I look at it a little bit differently, right? Like an O-ring is just like a tire on a vintage car, right? It's a rubber component that has to be replaced occasionally. You know, so we want to match that as closely as we can, and we tried to match as much as we could to some of those 80s style figures as we can. The swivel wrist is really the only major construction change we've made. Now, some of the materials may be a little different. You know, the type of plastic that we're using for some things may be different than they were on vintage figures, but we want it to look right.
Okay, I'll ask the question. Are you saying they're going to have a thicker crotch and better heels?
Yeah, they'll have a thicker crotch. We're hoping the modern plastic negates the heel issue, because that's really a plastic shrinkage issue. And we think the materials we have are better. In 30 years from now, if we're wrong, you can tell us. But for right now, we haven't found any problems with that. So,
yeah. So you got to be careful on the plastic mix on the crotch, like between the ABS and the PVC, in order to make sure that it doesn't shear off. Because the first figure to break on the crotch is going to know about it, whether it's this line or others.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So what we did, we're still using ABS for that part, but what we've done is we added an extra ridge of material on the inside just to make it thicker. You know, and the thing is too, we know for the most part, caveat this, but we think most of the collectors that are buying this are probably not going to play with them quite as hard as the kids did when they first got them in the 80s. So
there are so many jokes in there. So many jokes.
There are. I know that's probably not 100% true because there's going to be exceptions to that rule, but we're thinking these are probably not going to get the wear and tear that some of those vintage figures got originally. No, the ABS doesn't shrink.
Thank God for thick crotches, Troy.
So awesome. You can put them in the pool and not worry about shrinkage, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, buddy.
Do the other hosts in this show have any custom figures they bought or created? And I know Rod Dog, the Island of Misfit Toys. Go check out that channel. Here it is.
That's cool.
Super glowy skier.
So the cool thing though is, hopefully this will work and you can see it. The plastic on top will change colors with heat. So it's up to the vintage swamp skier from Zartan. So that's been one. And then because we've been talking Cold War, I just had to print this off, and I made this for my man Firefly.
I saw the
picture.
It is crazy. So
the
good.
Fat Man or Little Boy nuclear bomb with just some added stuff for Cobra with an LED in it, so you know that it's armed.
Wonderful.
That's cool.
How about you, either Chad or Ken? You got anything to show off or purchase as customs?
I got tons. Ken, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm going to relocate to where I can reach my customs, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
After these messages, we'll be right back. All right, Chad.
So I grabbed a couple down as everybody was talking in case. So
your time to shine.
Oh,
Night Force Brawler I made. Right.
Very cool.
Nice.
I bet you were saving that for tonight. I bet you were saving that for tonight's stream.
I kind of was, but yeah. So that's done. So there's my Night Force Brawler. Hang on 1 second. So
Vlad, shout out to Mike Vlad. He loves it. That's dope.
Awesome. Everybody knows the G.I. Joe Avalanche, right? The snow vehicle. It has the weird little mine shooter dispenser thing. Check this out. Oh, there's my custom Avalanche. I made it. Action Force Z Force.
That's awesome.
And I put that cannon on it. And I actually took that weird little fighter drone thing out of it. And I made it where I can put a figure right here. And I usually keep Captain Skip in there. And he's kind of like controlling it. But yeah, that's my Action Force Z Force Avalanche. So
that's slick.
Kind of
cool.
G'd that. I'm trying to not hit. This thing's gigantic, right? So I'm trying to not hit my mic with it. My biggest thing.
Careful now. This is a kid's show.
No,
I drop like
I'm totally cool.
5 F-bombs.
No, I'm not gonna. My biggest thing is Joe Transformer crossover and Joe Mask crossover. So, people talk about the reaction figures and things like that. I take the reaction figures and I kind of cut them up And so this is my Soundwave bat that I made, right?
Oh, yeah.
Incredible.
I cut up the reaction figures, and it's all magnets, right? So I can take his arms off. I have a Sound Blaster one, a Megatron one, et cetera, et cetera. I'm a big fan of bats. Bats, hiss tanks, things like that. And then for mask, I got two that I'll show you.
We ain't done.
No, I'm not done. You gave me the floor. I'm going to do it. This is my 4-inch scale mask rhino.
Ooh.
That's
Oh,
amazing.
that's nice.
That's
So-
amazing.
This thing, it'll close. I can take out the rocket and I can shut this back. I took the ramp off, obviously, but this is my 4-inch scale mask rhino, and you can see Matt Tracker's in there.
Oh wow.
And then in the back, I've got Duke in the back, and I greebled and kit bashed this whole thing. It's a Playmobil semi and pieces parts from a Peterbilt model kit. So I made that, and that thing is gigantic. And then one more. I got one more.
That's amazing.
This is a 4-inch scale mask Venom switch.
Oh, Switchblade, yeah.
That's cool.
Right. Yeah. So I'm real big on mask and Transformers fitting in with my Joe. And like I said, I've got a Tyler Rake figure from that Extraction movie. I've got Snake Plissken. I've got other characters just sort of interspersed in my Joe collection. But this is my big passion, is doing custom vehicles.
What's crazy, Chad, is I had no idea you had it in you. I didn't know. And so I was like, oh, I like this guy's, he knows his Joe stuff. He's a part. I was like, oh, I'll have Monty, like, whatever. And you're fucking still in the show, man. Awesome.
And ironically, a lot of people maybe I just don't post enough customs anymore, but that's kind of where I always slid in, was me and customs.
Yeah, we'll start, because man,
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
That's a good
Good
deal.
stuff, dude.
This
All
room
right.
is probably 40% customs.
I got one more because I got to give a shout out to our boys over at Gridiron, but
Oh yes.
upgrade
Look at
kit
that.
for hit and run.
Oh my Lord.
So
Yep.
and then I also put together the little drop bag with the extra rope that they got. So
Mhm.
now I can
Rad.
drop it off.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
So-
Gridiron is you're on another
They're
level.
killing it.
Yep.
They're on another level. So Ken, your turn, real quick before we wrap up.
Yeah, I mean, and to Ryan's point, because Ryan's the one who sent these, like I get a box in the mail from Ryan, and what's it got inside?
Yes,
So he basically he did the repaint and the detailing work for this dusty-ish sort of desert trooper, and I had already gotten the Gridiron kit, so you can see the backpack and the weapons and everything there. But this was a gracious gift from Dreadnought Ryan. I did a 5-minute video on it that I'm going to put up sometime in the next few weeks on the channel. And I opened my second box from Dreadnought Ryan, and what's in there? But this guy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and that included the Footloose kit, which he bought, put it on. I mean, time and money that he put in. And when someone else brings that to your channel and your collection, and it's from a good friend, and it happens to resonate with you, like it's not just a random, oh, that's nice. Now what do I do with it? Right? It was actually like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? So, yeah, I was graciously, and he sent more stuff than this. He sent like custom Energon cubes. Chad mentioned Transformers. He sent Ryan sent Energon cubes, and he sent a little desert diorama. Sorry, I'm just gonna shut the door because plane flying overhead. I'm at the back door of the house, so
Sounds like you have one of Chad's customs flying over your head.
basically, I think he
Ryan
sent the
sent you
Switchblade.
stuff. I think Chad just did too.
Yeah, he sent me a Switchblade, but Ryan sent me this sort of like desert backdrop as well. That was the one where I was like, where's it gonna go? And then I ended up putting it up in my work area. So
Beautiful. Ryan's
it
an
all
alright
sort of
guy.
ends well.
He's all right. He's an all right
Ryan's
guy.
an all right guy. Yeah, I've heard.
He's all
I've
right.
heard that before. So
All right.
Ask my wife; she'll disagree.
yeah.
Hey, so we're gonna wrap this up, but before that, how could we not, Troy, talk about the 3 people who pledged $4,500 because they want to be an action figure someday? It doesn't get any more custom than that.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, we know people like the idea of getting to be an action figure. And we decided we would give a limited number of folks that chance. So we had three backers at that level. And we've been talking with those folks about where they want those figures to show up, and how we might incorporate their likenesses. So nothing in this early wave, because this stuff was all kind of in the can and ready to go. But in future waves of product, yeah, we're gonna have some likenesses that'll be based on some real folks, and some people want to share, some people don't. So we're gonna leave that to them. On who wants to share, but yeah, we just thought, that was a cool thing, right? Like, if I had the money to do that, that would have been a lot of fun. Instead, I decided to go all in, and John and I did this and are doing a whole line of stuff. But if I didn't have that skill set, right, if I hadn't already been working on figures, would I have been interested in going in on something like that? Absolutely. Yep. So we decided to put that out there, and people actually took us up on it. So that was fantastic.
Nice. Now, are these going to wind up figures in Callsign Longbow, or is this just kind of a special figure for just the purchaser?
The plan is they will probably be Longbow figures. At some point, we may want to explore some different stories or some different themes. So we did kind of leave ourselves an out there that if we do develop any other brands, it would be a similar figure in another brand. Right. But most likely probably going to wind up in Longbow in successive waves. Yep.
Right. So that's a perfect segue to what's next. So for Grindstone Toys, so it's like Callsign Longbow is in itself a project, even though a lot of people now kind of associate you guys as Callsign Longbow, but there could be other call signs or other projects. You want to kind of at least tip us off as to what that could be?
So we want to explore some other themes, right? Because we love G.I. Joe and we love Cold War military stuff, but we like lots of other stuff too. And sometimes you want to make things that don't fit the current brand you're working on. So we have some other things that we're exploring with that. We've got some sci-fi stuff we're looking at. We have some more kind of general adventure stuff that we're looking at. Again, they would be eventually, right, if we can get to these, they would be O-ring figures and they would be compatible so that we could reuse tooling where appropriate. And again, just to keep that standardization. But nothing official to announce. But yeah, we'd like to play in some other sandboxes as well. So
could this include something that's neon, maybe?
I wouldn't even rule out neon eventually for Longbow. I love neon stuff. So I wouldn't necessarily say that doesn't fit into a particular box, but yeah, just kind of depends. What's the right place for different things. So, long term, we'd love to get for that. As far as Longbow goes here in the nearer future, what we're looking at probably is that we would move after we get through this first big bunch of Kickstarter stuff, is we'd probably look at trying to do smaller assortments of stuff on a more regular basis. Make it a regular brand, not just something that we have to crowdfund every time. But we're really focused right now on, we got to get the current product ready to go.
Right. And that said, I'm still going to ask John, what do you want to see? What do you want to do?
We are of one mind on adventure and sci-fi. I mean, we both have from the beginning knew those were two things we wanted to hit. So yeah, that's where I want to go. And a lot of the Longbow story as it unfolds will incorporate some of those things. But nice. the adventure concept is just something that would be fun, and there's definitely a hole right now for it.
Yeah, I kind of like that is like Callsign Longbow, especially with like comics as we wrap around here, is maybe Easter eggs and incorporating future projects or future factions or like we had Steel Web, anything like that kind of into the comic as we follow the story, and it might tip us off as to what you guys are working on next. That might be a thing, right?
Yeah, that's probably a good bet.
All right,
cool. So would it be possible to say that maybe we might see, I don't know, maybe like a couple possible police officers who dress really stylish, who fight, I don't know, coffee manufacturers from Colombia?
I would love to do something like that. We actually, interestingly enough, my wife and I just finished binging Miami Vice
Oh, love
a
that show.
couple of weeks ago, because I've been going back. Right, got to do my research. We've been going back and watching a lot of like 80s TV shows, and even on YouTube, there's lots of 80s commercial compilations. Just because I always like, I wanna make sure that, especially like on the tech side of things, I'm not including stuff that shouldn't be there. So I've been watching a lot of that stuff just to make sure I'm in that right mindset, right? Like what did they have? What did they not have? Because I remember from when I was a kid, but it starts to get fuzzy after a while. The details on some of that stuff. So yeah, we actually just finished watching Miami Vice, so I could see something like that.
What about
Gotta
the
be-
possibility of a plucky group of teenage rebels living in the mountains?
Absolutely, and we already have tooling for bad guys, so we'd be set.
That's right.
You could call it like badgers or something.
Aren't we kind of half making that already? Aren't we? Like,
Yep.
I'm a little embarrassed here, gentlemen, because when Ryan made his reference there to fancy dressed people fighting bad guys, I don't know why I didn't think of Miami Vice. I thought of Narcos right away.
Oh.
I have no idea why I went there.
80s, come on.
Yes.
You didn't immediately
It's like-
think of a Ferrari?
Yeah, or a retired Navy SEAL who lives in Hawaii with an author.
Oh.
I'd love to get some licenses too. If we could get to that point where we could make official product, like there's all kinds of fun stuff we could do, right? Once we get established, if we can if we can finagle things.
Well,
But
there's a lot of characters, like cops characters, visionaries that people aren't really using, and I'm sure those licenses are owned, but they might have expired, things like that. I don't know. I mean, you see Ramen Toy doing that right now with some Centurion stuff and some masks.
yeah, Ramen's doing a lot of fun stuff.
They are, right? And they're kind of going the Transformers third-party route where they're using somebody else's likeness, but their own unique sculpting. So, kind of cool, actually.
I think there's still a lot of 80s product that's never had toys made for it. And I think for a lot of us old fogies, if we could get an A team, B team, C team type of thing, or, like we're saying, Miami Vice, different stuff like that. I mean, the stolen helicopter that was, Stringfellow flew. I mean, having those type of lines and licenses would be cool to see stuff come through.
Nice. Well, I think that was amazing. Do we have any more questions for the fams? How about you, Ken? You got anything else before we wrap up, Ken?
I'm sure I'll think of it later on, and I'll probably just message these guys directly. I have that tendency.
Later on. All right. Well, we don't have we got about
After the fact.
Johnny come lately, right? So.
All right, Chad, how about you, brother?
No, I just want to say thanks for having me. Troy, John, awesome job on this campaign, and thank you so much for doing it. And also, thank you for telling me about the t-shirt link on Teespring or TeePublic, because I'm going to buy them all. So thank you.
Actually, let's get that up there. There we go. At the bottom of the screen, if you're still hanging with us, you can go to the TeePublic store, Callsign Longbow, and get yourself some steel web and amazing other stuff there too. Ryan, any closing thoughts?
No, you guys, great product. Look forward to seeing what more stuff you guys come out with waves 2, 3, whatever coming down the line. So just great job. I know this is probably the less stressful part as you move into production, tooling, and all of that stuff. So just looking forward to the updates as they come.
Yeah. All right, Troy and John, do we have any the fallout, right? So we're in the pre-order store now. We're in the backer kit. Any closing thoughts? Anything you want to add that we missed maybe about Callsign Longbow? We'll start with you, John.
I don't think I have anything on that, but I do once again want to thank everybody that has put in on this project. You guys are making a lifelong dream come true for two guys for sure. We're humbled and grateful, and I can't say that enough. We have this vision, and we're so happy to have all of you all aboard as we keep going forward. Really,
yeah, awesome. This was wonderful. And Troy, you want to?
Yeah, again, just like John said, I want to thank everybody that supported us. None of this is possible without you, and that's true. We couldn't do any of this. We couldn't even start out on this if we didn't have support. And we appreciate that so much. And like we said, we want to grow the brand. We want it to be a long-term thing. We want to be able to produce product for you guys for a long time to come, so that you get fun stuff that we never got before. So for right now, if you can share it with folks, bring along a friend, kind of show them what we've got going. And, if they dig it, we can help grow things, and that'll help give us that much more of a stable foundation moving forward. But we really do want to build this thing to last long term. Because we appreciate the support we've gotten, and we want to make sure we're there long term for folks, to make fun stuff that they're not going to get anywhere else.
Absolutely. Man, this was a blast. Like, it blew my expectations away. I can't thank Troy and John enough. Grindstone Toys, thanks for joining us on
Absolutely.
Welcome to the Terror Drome. And Ryan, Chad, and Ken, that was a blast. Like, I was like, this is a custom centric show, and we're just gonna like go over like O-rings and stuff, and then holy hell, you guys, like, there was so much cool stuff. Thanks to all five of you. Thank you for showing some stuff, because I had not in a show. So I really appreciate all you guys. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you.
that about wraps it. I'm Travis Moody for the Welcome to the Terror Drome episode 9. Of course, Toy Kind of Mood. Like, subscribe, follow, smash that bell, get the reminder. Go visit cslongbow.com. Check out the Kickstarter, Callsign Longbow. Even if you only get $25, get a figure, man. Get one of those bros. I know you need a bro, an 8-8 bro. Come on. Let's go, bro. Let's do it. Go, yo, bro. All right, guys. This was a lot of fun. Thanks so much. Terror Drome out.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.